Support for Point Forward comes from Nissan. A call to adventure is just that. It's a call, and you should answer it. The 2024 Nissan Pathfinder has everything you need to get out there and find your own adventure. It's built to handle every epic route you can throw at it, like muddy jungle paths, snowy trails, and rolling sand dunes. The Pathfinder also has an available, intelligent four-wheel drive and offers 7 different drive modes, so you'll never have to wonder, can my car handle this ever again? Adventure better with the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Intelligent four-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
Point Forward.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of Point Forward Podcast. Myself, Andre Iguodala, my guy, Evan Turner.
Yo.
Exciting week. The Timberwolves were able to squeeze out a game, and we had some interesting conversations over the last week. E.T., the streets were talking to you. You claiming that the Celtics are being disrespected a little bit because they've handled business from your perspective, and they just did what they were supposed to do. And it's essentially been sweeps. And folks are saying, they gave up the game. They gave up a game versus Cleveland. They gave up a game versus Miami without a Jimmy. Home losses as well, especially in that Miami series. And so we've had some good conversations. So is winning one game, does that mean something to the team that got beat with a man down? Or is it still somewhat of a sweep? Like 4-0 gentlemen sweeps, is 4-1 still somewhat of a sweep?
I think it's still a sweep, to be honest with you. And coming from somebody that's been on the other side of sweeps like numerous times, to the point where it's just like we're discussing being like, yo, let's just get one game, bro. We can't go home without one game. And like I compare it to being in like a heavyweight fight. It's like, all right, bro. If dude broke both my orbitals, broke my nose, broke my jaw, basically landed me in a hospital on, in a coma for 2 weeks after the fight, and all I did was bust his lip, G. That is not, we not talking about that. Like, you understand what I'm saying? And I feel as though when you do that comparison, it's like you squealed out one game out of 5 games. You basically, with the hair on your teeth, barely got swept. And I just always just thought in my head, if you didn't get, you got to do it twice so we know you mean it. And I feel like with any real champions or any real thing, I remember talking to Kyle Korver one series. We went 4-1 versus them. And I came up to him like, damn, we had you here, we had you there. And he's like, bro, y'all won one game. And Kyle Korver's not a trash talker. And I remember sitting there and being like, damn, how does that feel from like the winner's position? Imagine me coming up telling you like, hey, bro, I punched you in the rib, like type stuff. And it's like, bro, I knocked you smooth out. Y'all won one game. So I think from somebody that's had tons of sweeps and been in tons of battles, when you leave a series that wasn't 4 games but 5 games, I'm pretty sure you still like, bro, y'all learned y'all lesson. Like, unless it's 2-2, backs against the wall, this hasn't even been a series yet. When we go up 3-0 and you get one, that's a long battle to climb up. And as you see, the Timberwolves are going to have to try to figure it out now. Mm-hmm. But even when you look at when the Timberwolves went up 2-0 versus the defending champs, Nuggets, they had an 8% chance of trying to come back and win. The odds of doing that, not only so much from the standpoint of trying to beat a team that you've been struggling with, but like the fatigue factor really plays in,
Mentally.
Yeah, mentally for sure. And you like, bro, do I really want to jump on this plane and try to go back and forth for literally 36 hours? Like imagine you coming from Portland and you playing New Orleans. So that's an 8-hour round trip just to go get your game 5 for $40 worth of per diem. Like you feel what I'm saying? Like, how do you feel? Yeah. Do you think 5-game sweeps are really anything? I just feel like it's wasting everybody's time, dog. Or 5-game series.
It's a really good conversation. And I don't think it's ever really been discussed. Somebody going to take this and it's going to be like the main conversation somewhere else. It's going to be funny.
No, which is cool. And like Ebro said, yo, thanks for listening. You know what I mean? Like right now, people are on my ass about the Paul George comment, but it's like they didn't say anything when we called him the second most talented player in the NBA. The only thing I said was like the dude that's 6'9" with everything to his game, and it's year 16, and he had a super team, and he never made it to a finals. It's crazy.
I hear what you're saying. So on a 5-game sweep, you know, I'm kind of sitting in the middle because at one point it was like early in my career. I never forget Al Iverson was saying, we went down to Detroit, and he was like, man, listen, man, we just got to get one game. You ain't gonna never tell me you sweat me, like you just clean me up. And I go back to the Maidana Mayweather matchups. Floyd won every round, but Maidana was so active and hit him a couple of times, and he caught him one time. Everybody's like, oh, it was close. Floyd's like, bro, do y'all know boxing? I got him up out of here. Like, come on, fam. I don't knock nobody out anyway. Like, it's a clean sweep. And I felt like it was very competitive with the Pacers and the Celtics. The Pacers, somebody said the Pacers could be up 2-1, 3-1 just as easy as they were swept. And
absolutely.
It was like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Maidana said, I almost knocked Floyd out. I hit him in the face really hard. Floyd was like, bro, man, you might have won run round out of 12. That's a sweep.
Yeah. And I'm coming from like honor amongst thieves. Like we went head to head. I thought I could beat you. Afterwards, I take my hat off and like, bro, that one little win wasn't shit. And anybody that leaves there needs to stop and respect the champ. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, but the other side of that is when you're a champ or you're priming yourself to become champion, you got to handle business.
Yeah.
And when you got a guy out and you can't waste days in the playoffs. That's one thing we learned. Everyone was talking about LeBron being very upset after that game 1, which is probably might be the best basketball game I've ever seen an individual play in terms of what LeBron did game 1 of that finals.
You talking about 2017?
2017? Was it 2017, 2018? One of them.
The 50 point.
50, 10, and 10, right?
Yeah,
right? Because I'm watching like, oh my God. He made the perfect read every single play. Offense, defense, like he played the perfect game. And, he had the situation after the game, allegedly, where he might have punched the wall and then, he had a wrist brace on, whatever. And people were like, why is he upset? It's only one game. It's only game 1. I'm like, nah, this is the smartest basketball player of all time. Like people might say, like, I competed against LeBron. It's hard to give him, his just due. Now I can. But I always would say LeBron might be the smartest basketball player ever. He knew, man, that's it, man.
It's over. Yeah.
I like, you can't waste no days. And so I'm saying that it's like the only reason why I go against calling it a sweep is because, like, listen, stop wasting days. You just wasted a day. Like you said, we wasted. You going back to Boston to win in the first and second rounds. So you winning back at home. But it was like, man, that rest matters. But there is also, you got to make sure because you put yourself at risk. Something happened that shouldn't happen. Thibodeau leaving in D Rose, they up 20. I look at Dang, while we on the bench like, dang, why y'all still in the game? Like, y'all up 20. It's 4-5 minutes to go. We out the game. Like, we got our dogs out. Like, get out the game, fam. Like, don't let something happen. The timeout, walking to the bench, I told him, come back in, first play out of timeout, boom, it happens. I was like, oh my God. And so it's like taking care of business sends a message as well. And Boston has a tendency to play down to the level of competition. And you got to be careful playing around with that switch. That switch. Yeah. But I also give Boston a lot of credit. It is really, really hard to sweep somebody. And we're not going to make this about the refs. But there is not incentives, but it's human nature to let the game be played a certain way to give the underdog or to give somebody down 3-0 the benefit of the doubt. Absolutely. It's just human nature.
No, for sure. I mean, like I said, in the WNBA, Game 5, 2016 finals back in the day. They literally called a shot clock. They waved off a shot clock violation to keep like the excitement going. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not bad, but I understood it. I was like, damn, they can't ruin it by doing this. I'm like, it was a cheat, but it made sense. But you're absolutely right. I'm just saying, you know, when you lose to, it's like if we would have beat y'all in Game 5 in 2019, or like lost in 5 games. No, in 5 games in 2019. It's like, bro, over that 3 years, y'all beat us 17 times.
Damn.
Like, if you think about it. So, like, you might not remember, and then you might get old, you whooping our ass, but we remember every part. And we like, bruh, we can't even beat them twice in a, like, we tried 100 times and we can't beat them twice in a week. Yeah. When Kevin Durant didn't even play.
Not at all.
So
I think I missed 2 games.
You were, bro, the way y'all partied on us, to even, if we would have brought up one, I'm like, bro, we need 3. After how many times they beat us, we needed 3 wins to even discuss this moving forward. You see, I never talked to you about any series we ever had.
Yeah, it's true.
Or even like really any wins, because it's just like, come on, my G. Like, if you really wanted to sit here, we could call that luck. And then when we sit down, it's like, all right, bro, this team that won 60 games this year, and they lost 22, bro. Like, all that shit was luck of a loss. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like all that shit was luck of a loss, fam. Like, when y'all lost in 16? Like, come on, bro.
That was crazy.
Y'all lost 9 games over 9 months, and y'all lose 4 games in 8 days?
Yeah.
Stop it, bro. Like, people lost money in Vegas because of that, dog. Like, that's the one time I'm playing analytics, because when it come back down to it, when I try to say we did this, there's always an analytical nerd popping out the bush telling me why I ain't shit. So that's my reality.
That's funny.
Point. Forward.
Did you see recently, I believe it's Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier from WNBA, obviously, 2 beautiful goddesses, hoopers, ballers. They're starting a 3-on-3 league.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be setting a record for the highest paying salary in pro female team sports history. So this new league is going to begin in January, and it'll take place, obviously, during the winter. Initial 30 players that are being selected are also supposed to get equity in the whole league.
Uh-huh. I've seen that.
I actually like this.
I bet it the deal. Myself, I saw it.
Okay.
We had some conversations around it. And so I didn't invest, but I'm rooting for it, for sure. Yeah. Go ahead. Your thoughts. Give me your thoughts.
No, I remember talking to my good friend Anna Martin, and we always discussed like what could get the WNBA going. And she was like, I don't think there's ways of changing the game where it's crazy or silly, but I think you have to throw different curveballs at it. So whether even in the NBA All-Star game, before people get their panties in a bunch, we switch to Elam endings. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Or like little stuff to adjust and continue to get familiarity with the game. Just like the women can't leave for 8 or 9 months, and the Americans only see them for 2.5 months. And then we start putting it like a 3-on-3 format's just fun to watch. G. Like, when you start throwing different ways of how to sample the food, quote unquote, I think it continues to build the appetite. So after this crazy summer, all this media push, having a superstar WNBA draft class, and continue trying to build a game and spread the game, I think it's huge to at least try out if the right players come on. I think one thing that you can't get over, that what we're going to have to do, is what is success really? Right. And that's on a grand scale of business, more so than we interview people where they talk about winning certain cases and like, yo, we took a lot of losses in the courtroom, which is like the realistic facts, but we won in the media. And it's like, no, I totally dig you, but it's like, all right, now when I'm investing in that and you're an investor, what realistically is success? Not coming back and being like, hey, that $30K you gave me to flip, I ain't got your bread, but the streets love my shoes and they love my jacket.
I didn't mean to laugh.
But I'm just saying, but that's really what niggas come back with. You be like,
I didn't mean to laugh.
What?
I didn't mean to laugh.
And guess what? I need more bread.
Right.
And you like, damn, G, how I just adopted an adult? All right.
I mean, it comes down to trying to set those expectations realistically. Mm-hmm. And you have the opportunity in startups to set those expectations. And, with this, it's a little bit of education as well, because we're so accustomed to seeing basketball in general. We played in a 5-on-5 setting. Like, I remember seeing Dr. J play against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar 1-on-1.
I do remember that. That was crazy. That didn't make for good TV, did it?
Correct. But they were trying a lot of new things out there. And they tried a dunk contest out for the first time, and that was a hit. Or they tried a 3-point contest when that came along, that was a hit. They brought the ABA ball back as the 2-point, the bonus ball on the rack, that was a hit. In-season tournament, that was a hit. The play-in, that was a hit. There were a lot of misses along the way. And so I think that's what startups are for, to try to test something out to the market to see if it'll be a hit. And so everyone is always trying to tweak the women's game. And some folks that are purists say, leave it alone. Other folks say, hey, it might need to be tweaked. I mean, you can even look at the XFL has worked.
Yeah.
No, I shouldn't say has worked. The XFL had a moment, and now The Rock bought it and is bringing it back. Yeah. I mean, you can look at different iterations of different sports. It was in this form, it's actually worked in a different way than we've seen it. And so we're used to seeing 5-on-5 basketball. But someone said, I don't think the W gets enough credit for how good they all are. Top to bottom, they're really good. And that's a part of, the conversations around overly weighted on Caitlin. And she struggled shooting. And I'm I think y'all forgetting this is mainly in all sports. It's rare for a rookie to be dominant in any sport because all the players are good once you get to the professional ranks. So you don't have you rarely have a wink link. Yeah. And I think that's why, and I don't want to make this about one person, so I won't, point towards any particular player. But when we see a mismatch in the NBA, we attack it because it's we don't see mismatches.
Yeah.
And I think the W, they're top to bottom, all the females are really, really highly skilled basketball players. And so I have heard a pitch as you get the top players to all be on the floor at the same time. It's almost like a super league sort of vibe with a 3-on-3 vibe. But they do have 3-on-3 in the Olympics now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a lot of people pay attention to that. That's a big game.
Correct. So I don't know the numbers or the viewership, but and going back to the XFL, and thank you, Sam, for this, in terms of it did create a lot of modern day production and storytelling. He Hate Me.
Yeah.
He Hate Me led to Shuttlesworth on the back of Ray Allen's jerseys. It led to King James on the back of LeBron's jersey. It led to the Truth on the back of Paul Pierce's jersey when they had that one game where everybody was able to put their whatever they want on the back of their jersey. Sean Livingston had S. That was a moment. I'm surprised we only did that one time. That was super dope. And it should only be that should be the incentive for getting to the finals or winning the championship is you have that one game where you're able to do that. Or maybe that's an all-star game thing. You can put whatever you want on the back of your jersey.
Because you're able to market yourself the way you want to market yourself. That's
correct.
Yeah, no, I'm totally not against that. I'm just anxious to see, obviously it's first year getting it done, what the 5 or 6 years down the line is going to be. And hopefully all this, effort and investment matriculates into where the league, where they want the league to be at.
Yeah, and I'm interested because, I look at SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And when you talk about threats, how many leagues are you competing with in that given calendar schedule? Because it's most of the females make more money overseas from what we've heard. And so the bulk of their money is made over there. I forgot her name, but she went to Turkey for $1 million a year. And she didn't play in the WNBA after that. She was why? I'm going to take my summers off. I'm making $1 million a year. Obviously Taurasi's made a lot of money over there as well. Yeah. And so does that disrupt the women financially?
It's hard to compete with college, bro. College is going on. When you're breaking it down, 5 or 6 of the top players, just even for men's basketball, just came back. The Pac-12 Player of the Year, ACC Player of the Year, college is going down too. So one thing I think that people forget sometimes is not so much when I'm like, hey, Dre, we got the best pod, like, because me and you are talking right now until we go out into the real world with 8 other billion people, and you like, well, shit, G, like, at one point, we limped to season 3. You know what I mean? Now do you understand what I'm saying? But now we turned up, and it's like, it sounds good now until you're in the thick of it.
Right.
And, like, you have a lot. It's hard to take over. So, like, the NBA is battling for the Christmas game now. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? And there's no such thing as being like, hey, bro, well, this just messed up. The NFL messed with us. It's like, yeah, that was a competition. That's part of the game. So we're talking about ad dollars and going on more and more and more. Yeah. I hope there's something where, you know, people are able to get sponsorships behind this and get a tail on it, arguably, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because with the distribution and stuff, there's no way it can be conflicting with like the college game and the sports or anything. It's just like shit. Competing with it is going to be tough.
You're battling for attention.
And also, too, just growing that game. So much of, we use examples of people here. It's like, when you worry about what I'm getting right now, me, what we have reserved that we're not giving you is built towards the future. And I'm just wondering where all that's going to come from in a real world of business as opposed to, because we're getting into a world of competition now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be a good test to see, you know, how you reiterate the current version going forward, you know, because I feel like there's always going to be tweaks made everywhere. Like I said before, the NBA's had a lot of successes, but, you know, we've done a really good job of sweeping our losses under the rug. Like we've had a lot of things that we tried out. That ball lasted a good 100 days. That new ball. Oh, you weren't around for that ball.
No, they were talking about Steve Nash, right? They were like, Steve Nash loves his ball. You talking about the ball that came like 10 years ago or just recently?
No, this ball was like 15 years ago. It was that ball that was cutting everybody's fingertips up. Skin was coming off. That ball was trash. And they were trying to go with it was non-leather, so they're good for the environment. But it's like, come on, man.
Yeah, the only person that liked it was Steve Nash. And they just kept saying it like, Steve likes it. Like, bro, Steve got baby hands.
Right. That ball was like coaches were coming out like, I can't rebound because my fingers are bleeding. Yeah. They had to get rid of that ball. And it is a totally different feel. And the NBA ball is probably the hardest ball to shoot or handle in its first month. But then after that, it's the best ball I've ever handled. Like I won't play with any other ball.
Yeah, it's real. But the first month, G, it felt like you scraping your hands up trying to dribble, G. And then like you shooting like a hard-ass object at metal. And it's like, come on, G, I'm not getting no soft rolls. Man, I didn't get used to that ball. That ball killed my confidence my first 2 years. I'm like, bro, ain't shit going into that.
That's fun. That's an interesting point because that ball will kill your confidence like your first year or two. Like I like later in my career, I was like, give me a new ball because if I know I can shoot with this, boy, it's gonna be lit once I get to a real one.
Shit, I used to go crazy with a Wilson Evolution, a tournament ball, like the dark almond. Shit, that ball, I'll throw that bitch through the hole. Straight up.
Point. Forward.
It's interesting, having this conversation on investing, having to have a financial sound mind in terms of decision making on what you invest in, and it kind of leads us to our next segment, Money Moves, which we've been in partnership with ARK Invest. In terms of, there's been a lot of conversation around wealth, around athletes, around transitioning out of the game. We've had conversations about players and the misinformation around guys going to jail. What is fraud? You can change up your interpretation of a law where, one person frauded 40,000 or whatever it was and goes to jail for 40 months. Another guy frauds for it. It wasn't 700,000. It was 7 million. And he's still in these streets, as we like to say.
I want to fraud 7 million and go to cupcakes. I want to live like Jordan Belfort. So whatever Jordan Belfort did, that's what I want to do. You get a lot of sex you weren't supposed to get, a lot of money and experiences you weren't supposed to get. And then you go to cupcake jail when people can't wait for you to get out. And then what do you pop out to? To Leonardo fucking DiCaprio playing your role and Margot Robbie playing your wife. And then when you sit there, nobody's like, this is a bad person. He's just a legend. Like, no, he just stole from everybody and their mama. Like, literally, Buddy want to give $1, he's gonna take $1 million. That type shit. But keep going. Keep going. My fault.
I don't know if ARK Invest is going to approve of that message, but I get the point. Yeah. So the conversation, I wanted to have with you, because I think some folks, it's an interesting conversation to have. Some people know something, some people don't, in terms of from the outside looking in. We always talk about people always trying to give their 2 cents, not having a proper understanding of how things work. So coming into the NBA, how prepared were you financially coming in, and then based on the information you were giving along the way, do you feel like you're properly equipped? Do you feel like you've been given enough information? Do you feel like more information could be given? And I have a ton of questions for you, because, they speak into us. You got RTP, Rookie Transition Program, which is in September, your rookie year, where you're spending days and you're getting told information. You have the Combine, where you're being sat down and told. Yeah. You got financial advisors pitching you about how they're going to save your money for you. And then throughout the season, you spend about, it's 3 or 4 meetings. Is it 3 or 4 meetings? I should know this exactly, but you're having constant conversations about how to watch out for your money. And you constantly have people approaching you, good and bad, which is a part of the problem, about how they can save you even more money. So you're constantly being told about, saving your money, your 401k. We have the best 401k in human history. We have a 10% benefits package that is. And there's one that's 10%. You can save 10% of your salary. Yeah. This holds you over between retirement and getting your pension and 401k. So they added another benefits package to hold you over in between, as well as this other, insurance or health benefits package, where we just had this recent fraud. And so, I guess, like, who were you? I could talk about my vets early on real quickly. Like, I had Aaron McKee and I had Kevin Ollie, right? And I saw how they moved, like how the way they dressed, the way they spoke, how they carried themselves. And so I asked them, like, who's your financial advisor? Because they would give me good information. Like, they would read, like, the USA Today, and they would take time in the finance section. And I'm watching closely. Like, that's a big part of the NBA. You're watching what your peers do. That's basically telling you how to move. Yeah. And, I saw Kevin Ollie. He didn't have a Prada America's Cups. He had the Prada, like, loafers. I'm like, oh, okay, that's different. You got a clean look. And so that's how I really would just watch other folks in terms of, like, how they moved, what kind of car they drove. Like, Kevin Ollie had rims on his car, but he also told me, like, hey, man, don't be buying this, don't buy that. Like, he gave me really, really good advice. Yeah. And so that played a really big effect on me. And so 2 questions for you. Who were your veterans that helped you make decisions off the court and, like, financially? And then also, how did you find your financial advisor? And like, how did you hire them? And what's that relationship been like over the course of your last, 15 years?
I think you were there when ironically enough, when we were in Cincinnati, we had a preseason game, and I think we all went to the same restaurants. We were sitting there at different tables, and you're like, who are you sitting with? I was like, oh, this is my new finance advisor I'm about to meet with. That was my rookie year, Steve Vojovich from Avo. I just remember, like, walking in, and I remember you telling me, like, all right, bro, make sure you get monthly audits. Make sure you get to $10 million in the bank. Once you get to $10 million in the bank, you can gain interest off that type of situation. So I knew for sure, kind of like looking up, like seeing certain moves you made. But then at the same time, I think one thing that occurred, we had like a really good locker room.
We did.
Where like, there was conversations of being like, when Mr. Rinaldi would come in, you'd be like, oh, make sure y'all listen to Rich Rinaldi. Yeah. So, like, go on the sidelines and go talk to people and get advice. Go get information. Go do this and the third. So I really thought that, like, when it came down to, like, knowing, I didn't know much about money coming into the league because I didn't have money. But I thought, like, hitting a rookie transition program, I thought what the NBA did put in front of us was teaching us a decent amount. And, like, even when I was sitting there, it's like,
NBPA.
NBPA. But I was humble enough to be like, yo, I don't know what I don't know. Like, my first 4 years, like, I saved every penny. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I hit certain goals by a year and a half in for the rest of my life financially. I kind of knew in my head, like, keep saving until they know you're going to get to the second deal. Now, when I got to that second deal, baby, we rocked. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, when I got to that second deal, it was like, all right, bro, this is when I was able to cop the Rari or stay within a certain type of means of what I wanted to elevate to.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually found my finance advisor by realizing I made a mistake with my first financial group leaving. I got connected in college through a friend of a who's who of being like, yo, this is such and such. This is a good play. I'm basically handshaking. I didn't even do like my due diligence on interviewing other people, like fully. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I think one thing that occurred in the summertime, I was kind of just being well aware of like asking questions to like my environment and being like, hey, how do I budget? Like, what's the budget environment like? I even went to my agent and been like, can you ask my finance guys this? Like, one thing that was raised a red flag was like, he's like, what do you have for his budget? What's the thing slotted? Like, are you keeping them within like a spending fee and things like that? And I started realizing like my first couple months, nobody was really telling me no. So then, so when I'm sitting down, I leave college balling on my credit line. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or like my friends coming up being like, do you understand? Like, you're going to pay this back, do this, do that, everything in a third. So once I figured that out, after that first wild summer of like buying a couple cars and stuff, I set my ass down for 4 or 5 years and didn't really buy shit. I bought my first Rolex when I was 24 years old. That was my 3rd year in the league. You understand what I'm saying? So I kind of just dove into that. And one thing that I was super humble about what I didn't know. So obviously I have money in the stock market, but I started off baby toeing and being like, yo, I'm from the hood. Like, I understand the stock market, but I want to see what I just bought. So that's where I got my feet wet, obviously, in the stock markets, but more so in real estate and learning those type of plays and what's really making me feel comfortable with my investments. And I think that's one way where I show humility, just knowing what I didn't know and being like, yo, we're not naive of this. The number one thing when you had an NBA dream was making it to the league, and then that falls up by people telling you, watch your money, watch how you spend it, and watch you let around you. So that's pretty much how I really done it. And I just kept growing, gaining great rapport with my finance advisor, because at one point we joke around and say, yo, my finance guy is my best friend, but it's not in the sense of how we kick it, but how often we talk. Yeah. And like the conversation we talk about, and him being like, hey, bro, you see what you just did with your money at A? Or, hey, bro, you understand what's going on here? Yeah. Yeah. Or do you comprehend like, yo, ET, you can't be a millionaire and have bad credit? Like shit like that, you know? So what about you? What do you think? What did you know coming into the league? And what do you think like you learned over time? And what advice could you give? Because to a certain extent, I'm still growing at my finance point. You not only made $200 million, you just raised a fund for $200 million. Right. So like to get money, you could write a book about it.
Well, it's all interesting because you just spoke some beautiful things, right? And you had a few things that like, I'm like, boom, I went here, boom, I went there in terms of my thoughts. But for me, I just had a really good conversation with someone in an interview for a role, and she just blew it out the water. It was amazing. And the question to me was, how would you be able to position yourself? Like, because the question becomes, can a guy make too much money? Because it's like, man, I'm making the same decisions I always made, and I got $400 million coming in. Yeah. Why would I change? Like, I'm getting what I'm getting, moving how I'm moving, not having that growth mindset. And at 19, 20 years old, you can everything you want. It's hard to ever have a growth mindset, and you really don't get that growth mindset until it's gone. And then now you don't want to hold yourself accountable. So either you're looking for excuses, or you like the Vin Baker story. Hey, I made a lot of mistakes. Let me go back here humbly and talk to the founder of Starbucks and see if I can get a job. Just give me a manager's job working in Starbucks, which leads to him. Now he's back on the bench in NBA. Yeah. Like, it's a great story, from like the high level, the fall from grace, and then getting back up. And he's well respected. Yeah. And, just appreciate him being vulnerable. So, you speaking about that vulnerability and just being honest about what you don't know. And so I always tell guys, look at all the look at all the financial instruments out there. And you spoke about real estate. It was like, how can you apply that to something you already know? Like, real estate spoke to you because you could apply it you can build parallels to other things that you know. Like right away, it's like, oh, this makes perfect sense to me. So let me.
And my country ass can see it. Like, I can see it. You like, wait, so you saying, what's the stock market, bro? We from the hood, dog. I didn't even know what Gucci was, G. So, like, when you talk about how green we were, like, and we diving deep into it, like, I'm telling my story, but, like, to the players, stay your whole ass on the porch until you know what's what, G. That's it. Like, what did I do? Like, I stayed on the porch until I was comfortable to come off the porch, G, because it's... We just talking about like just playing with bread. Wait until you start intertwining with people that are just bad people.
And that's
dating the wrong women, like getting the wrong lawyers, getting the wrong manager, the finance guy that you understand what percentage he's charging on your dollar.
Yeah. Then that's the part that people fail to realize, that everywhere we go, every waking hour of the day, there are hundreds, or thousands of people trying to position themselves to cross paths with us. They know our schedule to a T, and they're the ones that are going to catch us at our most vulnerable moments, and we relax, and they take advantage of it. And so it's like we do such a good job of carrying our shield. We're just looking for somewhere to have that be our place of peace, and it always ends up being the wrong person, because they catch us at our most vulnerable times, because they're just always waiting. So you can never put your guard down. So people say, why are you so guarded? Or you see the interactions with the public. I saw Kelsey and his wife having a crazy interaction because the lady didn't get a picture. And it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, we're regular human beings, and we're not put on earth to be guarded in such a manner that we're guarded. We're not even built for the physical output that we have in our professions, right? So just all those things come in play. But what we're trying to say financially is, one thing that helped me was having an appropriate fear. Like, I didn't know I was going to make it to the NBA. So when I got to the league, I'm just happy to be here. Now I'm really listening to every word, because I'm like, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. So let me get all the information that I can get. That leads me to hearing all the horror stories. So, okay, I hear all the horror stories. Now I'm going to save every dollar that I can. I don't know what Gucci is. I don't know what Louis Vuitton is. I never seen it. I hear about it in rap songs. I don't know where to get it from. So I didn't spend the money. Now, once I find it, yes, I indulged a little bit. And then I had to correct myself. Like, hey, you got to calm down a little bit. But I've fired many financial advisors. And you spoke about your financial advisor. He's like, all right, it's my best friend, not in terms of kicking it. And so one thing about me is I'm always paying attention to the folks around me. And it's like when we go out and I'm looking at, my financial advisor can hang out with me, but once he starts, like, there's nothing wrong with having a drink or having a beer or something, relaxing, having some food. Nah, it's just different. But once I see you hanging out with me, you're indulging in on the fun. Now you getting drunk. You know what I'm saying? Now you're participating. And so, like, now you got a Ferrari. It's like, whoa, how much money you got? Like, you babysitting, getting you a Ferrari. Like, what are your, like, are you practicing what you preach?
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to be the stingiest person on earth, but you aren't practicing those same principles. Like, I'm paying attention to all those things, and I always ask questions. So I was quick to fire my financial advisors. And then for me, it was always someone I always wanted to be around folks that would help me become a better version of myself. And so are you helping me have a better knowledge, a better understanding of business, of finances? And so, like, I was super attracted to my financial advisor, now is my business partner, because he asked me this one simple question. Why is your private wealth management firm charging you whatever they're charging you? They can be charging you 0.5%. They could be charging you 1%, whatever it is. Figure out why they're charging you what they're charging you. And then that it took me to a rabbit hole. And I was like, oh, I can do your job. It's really you call it the finesse fest. Yeah. It's just a pitch on why to keep your money here and why to keep your principal here. Because I turned down being able to invest in the DC United before they even had a logo.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to invest in the MLS, and my financial advisor told me it was risky. I was going to lose money. And I understand the protection side of it. I understand that, the risk involved, because I didn't understand risk to the level that I needed to. So I took her advice because she was right on the risk. But there's a personal incentive to her, not to her, because it was a guy at the time. To the guy, it was a personal incentive to the guy. The more money I had at that account, the more money he made based on the principle that I had there. Regardless if he made me money or lost me money, he would still get a percentage of the base that I had there. So if I take money out of that account and put it in another investment, I can make money on that investment over here, but he didn't participate in that. And so anything is a threat to him and is a risk. And it wasn't for my benefit. So I got rid of that person eventually. And now I think I actually have a good relationship with him. So I'll text him like, man, these MLS, these NWLS, all these different leagues are having their moments in terms of valuation. I missed out on about $100 million.
Yeah. No, and this is what I say too. And this is where I take on accountability, where I'll sit still, I talk to Steve, my guy, and I'll be like, look, G, when I came out of college, I could have had control of every waffle on campus. I wanted, everybody knew Waffle House was my thing. I wanted to get my bread and open up a Waffle House. And you know what I mean? You just turning waffles on campus, bro. I would have been a man. And he like, no, don't do that. The restaurants is bad ideas. When I'm sitting still, we joke because it's a waffle thing, but it's like, damn, G, if I didn't follow my gut or I listened to your advice based on something that wasn't good for me, good for you, but it was good for me, it's like, all right, bro, every now and then, bad ideas are going to have expiration dates.
Yeah. But then at the same, and I'll add to that as well, because there's two sides to it. Because one thing I learned as an investment, don't harp on your wins too much. Don't be out here gloating, but then also don't harp out on your misses. Because there's a few things that I should have invested in that I didn't. And I don't think about like, man, I missed out on that money. You can't think like that. That's how gamblers get addictions. Yeah. Like, I don't want to miss out on this bet. This is a sure thing. Or investments in general. And you got to properly assess it. And so for me, it wasn't that I missed out on the gains. It was more so I missed out on the opportunity because the person talked me out of it because personally they wouldn't be able to benefit. And so it wasn't as much about they didn't like the investment. For me, it's just $1 million would have left the account for them. And they were just looking. So I looked at it from that standpoint. But other than that, like you spoke to locker rooms too, and I close on this. The locker room is super, super important. And this is something that's big for me in the position that I'm in, is that we have to place a higher value on the presence of a veteran player. And it can be by committee, we're identifying, like Michael Carter Williams is one of the kids who understood. He was at every NBPA meeting. He wanted guys to do well. He was a good teammate. He gives good advice. Like, we got to build better relationships with our vets to understand who they're becoming, because they need to lead these locker rooms. And I've seen a locker room take a guy completely out. I wasn't on that team, but this guy was he was like a higher talent than me, faster, shot it just as well as I did. We were both non-shooters, but he ended his career. He could make some shots, made a ton of money, but just he was always in the wrong environment that led to his demise. And I always say I'm grateful for the locker room I had, because it'll take you out. And then we're also talking about, investments that worked, that didn't work. It brought me to, GMs and owners. That plays a part too. I got to give a lot of respect to Joe Lacob. The business of basketball meetings, we had some really good ones with the Warriors. And the business of basketball is something that's put in the NBA, where teams are able to sit down with ownership groups and give them a proper scope and perspective on how they accumulated their wealth, and then how they look on operating the team. And Joe spoke about, he was with this private wealth management firm. He was with this one. He doesn't like that one. Like, he was quick to say, like, nah, I fired them. I didn't like them because of this. This is what you need to look for. And then I end on this. And it's a Biggie line too. So it encapsulates everything on any side, no matter your demographic, no matter your race. And Biggie said, I got lawyers watching over lawyers, because I don't trust, nobody can be trusted, especially in the world that we live in. And so I always had two private wealth managers. And so there's minimums at some of these private wealth management firms. It's like one might be 10 million, one might be 5 million. And it depends on where you get to. And when we talk about minimums, it's like assets too. So it's not straight cash. So I can't go to the bank and just pull out 10, 20, $30 million.
Everything you got is your portfolio.
Don't try to count my money. But I always kept two private wealth managers. And they always talking about, you can move that money over here, I'm getting a better rate. You can move that money over here, I can always get you a better rate. And I'm like, if you can give me a better rate, why don't you just give me a better rate?
Right, yeah.
Well, I got to give you more money to give you a better rate, but they're keeping each other in check in line. Like, he's like, what are they doing? Or what are they doing? They always asking what the other one's doing. I'm like, y'all can all know what each other's doing. And if either one of y'all get out of line, I can just go find another party.
Yeah.
And you still going to be competing with somebody. And so that puts some accountability, that puts some transparency in the thick of it as well.
It's real. I appreciate that.
Point forward.
Thanks for y'all for tuning in to another episode of Point Forward. Don't forget to follow on social media and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. We appreciate you for listening. See you next week.